Hey everyone, welcome to UltraLow Brewing. I've had a lot of people ask me about NEM, which is non-enzymatic mash or cold mashing. So today I'm going to do a demo on how I do a cold mash. We're going to do a 10 litre stout, which is a 3.2 kilo grain bill. We'll get that down to under 1% using Leatherman Windsor and cold mashing techniques and a high 78 degree mash. So let's go. So what we need is a bucket with 5 degrees Celsius water in it. We need a brew in a bag, spoon and our grains. And we're going to mash that for 12 hours in the fridge and then continue on with our traditional mash. I've got my brew in a bag here that I've been soaking in star sand. Now, being a cold mash, we have to be extra careful, extra sanitary, because we don't want bugs getting in there. Get our spoon. Dunk this in the cold water. Start with the oats component. We literally just pour that in the cold water. Here's our grain bill. Let that drop down and then we'll give it a stir. Make sure there's no dough balls, break it all up. Make sure everything's all nice and wet. And here she is, all ready for a cold mash. Pop the lid back on. Now we put this back in the fridge at 5 degrees C, we'll come back in 12 hours. Now the idea behind a non-enzymatic mash is that we want to drop out all of the starches first before we do our mash. Now normally when we do a traditional mash, you'll heat it up to say 65 degrees C. You want all of those starches to heat up and then absorb the water, so they swell, and they explode. The enzymes can get in there, do their enzymatic activity and convert those starches into usable sugars for the yeast and therefore alcohol. But we don't want that alcohol, so what we're going to do is drop the starches out, and then the high mash that we'll do later will halt any more enzymatic activity, and that way we can get a 3.2 kilo grain bill stout down to under 1%. Alright, time to put this bucket in the fridge. Right here we have our grains that have been steeping for the last 12 hours at 5 degrees Celsius. So let's have a look. They look black, they look dark, they look thick. They look tasty. But it's not over yet. I'll do a high mash. First I'll take an OG and we'll see what happens if we just fermented these grains like they are instead of doing a high mash. 1 sanitised eyedropper, 1 refractometer. $10.08. So OG 10.08 of cold mashed NEM grains. Now I need to pull the grains, so I've got this little pulley system. I'll just attach the brew in a bag to this and then hang them for half an hour or so, let them settle down a bit, let all those starches drop right out. Get my loops. That's pretty black. I forgot to mention before, this is Black is Beautiful, the brew is called, and it's from Weathered Souls. It's a bit of a collaboration for the Black Lives Matter. This is their recipe, I'm just using it for this demonstration. So now that the grains have drained out and settled a bit, it's been about an hour, that'll give it enough time for all the starches to settle to the bottom after we've disturbed them. Now it's time to put this bag into the kettle, and we'll use the wort out of this bucket to mash in. Now the wort out of the bucket is flowing into the kettle. I'm heating it up as we go. I'm going to heat it up to 78 degrees C for a high mash. And as soon as this is full, we'll check our water levels and add the grains for the proper mash. So I put 20 litres of water into that bucket. Now with the grains going in and absorbing a lot of the water, we've been left with 12 litres. So the recipe calls for, it's an 11 litre batch, so the recipe calls for 16 litres for mashing. So I'll just add a bit of RO water, bring that up to temp as well. Now we've got our proper 16 litres in here. I'll do another OG, we'll see what we get. $10.07. While the mash water's heating up, I'll be a scientist and get my water chemistry additions ready for adding later on. Brewfather says 0.5 calcium chloride. .7 is close enough. What's next? We have 0.6 of Epsom salts. Point six exactly. And lucky last, 1.1 grams of gypsum, calcium sulfate. 1.1. Oops, too much. 1.7. 1.2 is close enough. And we'll add these later. Oh, there's a Whirlflock tablet in there as well. For our hop additions, we've got 5 grams of Columbus and 10 grams of Cascade, so we'll get them ready now as well. I now have 16 litres of 78 degrees C NEM mash. Time to add our grains. Alright, put our bag in. Start my reset. And we're off. Alright, now the mash is on. The recipe calls for a half-hour mash, but I need to go pick the kids up from school, so it'll probably blow out to 45-50 minutes. So I just want to show you all the starches that we were trying to pull out before, show you what's left in the bucket. You see it all on the bottom there. That's a lot of stuff that we didn't want. Seeing it stick, it won't even move off the bottom of the bucket. Like panning for gold. There we go. We did not want that. Now the mash is over, it's time to pull the grains, drain them a little bit, boil the kettle, and then we can add our hop additions, water chemistry, well flock, just like a traditional boil. Now I've finished my boil. I've already put my hops in and my water chemistry and other additions I've got. Now it's going into a hot cube, which I'll show you now. So there she is. Going into the hot cube. And then we'll wait.